sculpting all these pieces, the transformations of the piece is never, it's a final finished stage of the piece, and it keeps changing all the time. So because the way how it constructs with the fabric and the paint, it's create kind of thicker layers is enough for me to kind of sculpt in it and create kind of the volume of the piece. Working with fashion design for a couple of years, and I just love the way how fabric reconstruction around the body. So whenever I sculpt in the piece, I really imagine there's a body underneath of the surface. And the advantage of using the push pin is, I can keep changing it over and over. It's just the whole idea of the transformation of identity. Our identity is changing every day. It keeps changing all the time. The moment that I move here, I'm not quite Vietnamese, I'm not quite American. So I kind of in that kind of between. And for me, the process of making these, a layer of fabric and a layer of paint and a layer of canvas. So now painting, I think, become a medium that glue the two cultures together. And also the blend between 2D and 3D, it's not quite, 2D is not quite 3D. So everything is just in the state of transformations, and it's constantly changing. So all of these pieces in the show have been constructed from silk. So I call it reconstructed painting because it's a long process to deconstruction the fabric and then reconstruct them back on the canvas. I think it's so much of the cultural history of the material itself that sometimes it's just you treat it as a kind of a perfection of the material because silk had invented for a long time and the technique haven't been changed and seen, and it's just the material, it can sing and dance at the same time. That's why I used to call it. So to me, to destroy a piece of silk is something very big. I've been trained with doing silk painting, and we have to handle it so carefully, very traditional. So to me, to cut all these apart is just a breakthrough. So all of these pieces, the more I work in on it, it's just the more that I understand how the material works, and how much that I absorb all of that traditional culture inside me and kind of try to put it out on the canvas. I think the process is important for me, as a person. That's a time for me to meditate in my own rituals and kind of recall the memory that I feel like I need that time for myself to just adjust and just look back to how my identity is changing over time. The color choice here, it influenced a lot from the environment that I'm in, and how I create with that working environments. As I travel a lot for my residencies, and I go all different places to find a new inspiration. And also to me, I've been moving from Vietnam, a very rural area, almost in the jungle, to America. So that's such a big change for me already. So now I travel everywhere. I just feel like I need to make something that comfort myself in that space. So yeah, it's a lot of inspired from the landscape and the environment around the place that I'm in. And I didn't notice that how much of the changing of the studio environment influence your work. And I think that's the most important thing to me too when I'm travel. So I try to take in as much as I can, and then put them back in the works. I have to adapt with the space. So I feel like I have more of that flexibility now compared to back then when it just here. Living to America, as I live here, I know nothing about America. I don't know anybody there. I don't have friends. I don't even speak the language back then. So it's completely different world for me. And I've been through probably about 2 or 3 years of shocking of that change of the environment, and I feel like it should be this way, try to, even though you live in a house, but you feel homeless in a way. So these pieces as a way of reconstructing everything, right? You start from above a piece of fabric, and then you sort of cut it up, you torch it up, kind of like torture your material, and then put them back together as a whole new piece. So to me, it's kind of like a way of resistance from whatever is changing you and try to control the situation. So I think this way is more of an indirect painting. It seems like it less of the control, because I cannot mixing the colors straight on the canvas, because everything has to go through the filter of the materials. But to me, it's more of the control of how these materials work. The idea is more kind of like it's just I think it poked through at the end when it starts coming all together.